Well, believe it or not, the iPhone 11, 11 Pro, and 11 Pro Max have actually been out for about a year now, which is pretty insane. It's a little bit less than a year. It's like a week and a half difference, but let's go ahead and talk about how this phone has held up in the last year and basically the biggest changes, the biggest non-changes maybe. And I think out of all the brand new iPhones I've ever used, this is probably one of the most used iPhones I've ever, just used phones in general. I use a iPhone 11 Pro as my main phone, okay, but the iPhone 11 is a phone that I use for almost any other video that I do on this channel and even my second channel. Any video I do on there for the most part, if it's not an Android video, is usually filmed on an iPhone 11. I'm not filmed on I'm usually using an iPhone 11 in those videos. Now, it's not being filmed by an iPhone 11, but I've been using this phone a ton and there's a reason for it. It's literally one of the best iPhones that I've ever used and it's extremely fast, it's extremely responsive. I never have any issues whatsoever, which is a really rare thing for me to say because, I'm usually the first one to criticize iPhones. With my 11 Pro, I've seen a lot of problems with it. I've had a lot of ups and a lot of downs, so I'm not saying all iPhones are not problematic, but the iPhone 11 I've had a pretty good experience with. Now, I'll try my best to explain it kind of throughout this video, but I really want to hit on the body first of all, and like I said before, one of its biggest criticisms that I gave it when it first came out isn't even necessarily for the 11, but it's also started with the iPhone XR, and it's kind of in the mix of the build quality phase. So I like the front panel, I like the 6.1 inch display. I feel like in my videos it looks really good too, so that's another big thing about it. However, a big thing to keep in mind is that it still has that notch. It is an IPS panel. These next batch of iPhones that are kind of be coming out, the iPhone 12 series, are going to be having OLED displays, which are going to look better, so keep that in mind. However, I still wouldn't update to it. If you have an iPhone 11, I would keep it. If you have like an iPhone 10, maybe go upgrade to it, but I think the panel on this thing is okay for the most part. Now, the sides of this phone are one of the things that I actually, I kind of didn't like at first, but then I started comparing it to a lot of other phones that came out, and I actually don't really mind it. So this thing has, an aluminum side to it, but it's not as premium feeling as the iPhone 11 Pro, but it's kind of grown on me. And after I kind of used the OnePlus Nord and the Google Pixel 4a, I realized that it's really not that bad of a feeling phone. I've also used the A51, the Galaxy A71 as well, and for the most part, I like the way it feels. It feels like a premium device, and with the glass on the back, you have that dual camera setup as well, and it still feels good, it still looks good, and I think my initial problems with it in terms of the aluminum sides and not like the really premium feeling sides on the 11 Pro are kind of, gone now. I don't really feel like that anymore, which is really good. And I'm getting emotional about it. I don't know why, it's just a phone. But the way it feels, the way it looks, I give it a thumbs up. It still looks really great. And even comparing it to a lot of other phones that came out in the market, for a $699 phone, I think it's great. And pricing wise, it's actually gone down in the used market. I've seen a lot of these things go for around that $500 price tag. They're usually a little bit more, still under $600 though. So I would recommend just buying it on eBay or something. I'll drop a link from Amazon. I think they're about the same price, but they're going to be probably brand new. So I'll find the cheapest one there and link it down in the description below so you can get them from there and help support the channel at the same time. But in terms of the outside, thumbs up for me. I still think it looks great. Software wise, it's pretty much, I've ran every single software version it got and I didn't really run into any issues. Right now it's running iOS 13.7. It's going to be getting that iOS 14 update very soon as well. And for the most part, I haven't had any issues with it. I like it a lot. It runs it perfectly fine. Of course, there's issues here and there. Sometimes an app may freeze or something like that, but it's really not that big of a deal in the grand scheme of things. I have not installed iOS 14 on it just yet, but I will be installing it and probably, making another video on it. But I think for the most part, for the people who, have this phone, the software updates are one of its biggest aspects. As soon as a problem comes out, as soon as there's an issue, Apple is quick to fix it, and that's one thing I really like about it. And anytime I had an issue with it, they fixed it. And that is a really important thing to keep in mind about iOS. And this thing is going to be lasting for an extremely long amount of time. I'm probably going to still be making videos on this thing 5 years later. So whenever that time comes, this thing will still be getting updates, which is going to be a really, really awesome thing. So for sure, at the end of the day, software-wise, this phone has held up extremely well. And performance-wise, it's literally one of the better performing devices as well. It's extremely smooth with that Apple A13 Bionic chip, hex-core CPU, and 4 gigs of RAM. It handles everything I literally ever threw at it. Anytime, like I said, I made a video on my second channel, it was almost always using this phone, and performance-wise, it handled everything, from video editing apps to photo editing apps and playing games or testing a new game or whatever. The iPhone 11 held down extremely well. And one of the strange things and one of the funny things that Apple has done with these iPhones is that sometimes the cheapest iPhones, the iPhone 11, tend to have better performance than the more expensive iPhones, which is extremely weird. I never knew why that happened, but maybe with the iPhone 12s, they're going to be switching it up, maybe adding more RAM to, their more expensive iPhones. We saw this before with the iPhone 7 and 7 Plus, but with this iPhone, I mean, it's really, really fast. It's really good, and it's probably one of the fastest iPhones out there because it does have the same exact internals as the most expensive iPhone. So as a performance standpoint, if you're going to be picking up this phone, I would highly recommend it. You're going to have an extremely good time using it. You're not going to feel like it's a slow phone, and even 1 year later, it's probably even faster now than it was last year. And how many phones in the market can you actually say that to, So in terms of a performance standpoint, that really pretty much covers it up. And camera wise, this thing, first of all, dual camera setup, 12 megapixel sensors on both, wide and an ultra wide sensor. Now, one of the biggest, I think, changes that's happened in the phone market right now is the ability to shoot 8K videos. And 1 year later, not even 1 year, literally like 4 or 5 months after this phone came out, we started getting leaks of the Galaxy S20, and that officially came out with 8K capability. This thing taps out a 4K at 60, but it's a really good 4K at 60 camera. Like, it looks really, really good. Very good sensor. However, that is probably one of the biggest changes that we've had in the market, honestly, would be that 8K capability. Now with these next iPhones, maybe they'll bring it, maybe they won't, but at the same time, how many people are going to be using 8K? Probably not a lot, but it would still be good to have it. So I think this camera quality is great. Like I stated before, I didn't have any issues with it. It looked really awesome. It still, kills it when it comes down to the camera quality. So even on the front 12 megapixel sensor, you can do 4K at 60 on that as well. And that has held up extremely well. I mean, I don't know if you guys know this or not, but I've done a ton of camera comparisons between this phone and a lot of other phones that have came out after it. And the camera quality on this thing is still top tier. Maybe, it kind of goes down a little bit in some other categories, but video quality has always been really good on these iPhones, including the iPhone 11. So in terms of that pretty much covers it up. Now ending it off with the battery life, this thing has a 3110 mAh battery, and like I stated before, still a tremendous battery life on this device. It looks really good. It lasts extremely long amounts of time. Whenever I make a video on my second channel, I literally have to charge it like once or twice a week at most. I literally let it sit around. It usually just dies on its own, and then I go charge it, and then I just go make a video with it, and it's a very seamless experience. The standby time on it is great, which is really, really awesome. So in terms of that standpoint, I like it a lot, and I think the iPhone 11 and 11 Pro and 11 Pro Max have had a really, really good battery life throughout my time using it. So in terms of everything, and to kind of sum up my experience with this phone 1 year later, I think it's been a tremendous phone. I've had very little issues with it. I think the stability is great, the software is great, performance is great. Really, if you can snag one up for even a brand new price, I think it's a great phone. I would probably not recommend buying any of them though right now. I'd wait until the iPhone 12s come out. But even then, this is a great phone. If you currently own it, I probably wouldn't recommend upgrading, but once I go buy the iPhone 12 series and do all my comparisons, I'll give you guys a better idea. But the iPhone 12 1 year later is still a great pickup in my opinion. So that really pretty much covers it up. If you guys have any other questions or anything, let me know in the comment section below. Hit the like button, that would mean so much, but definitely hit that subscribe button. Every single subscriber that we get really does count, so it means so much if you guys can hit that. Also check out the other links down in the description as well. My Twitter, my Instagram, my second channel. More importantly than everything else, I love every single one of you guys. Hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out till then.